There are moments when a man convinces himself he's imagining everything. She smiles a little longer than she has to. She remembers something you mentioned weeks ago. She looks at you, then quickly finds something else to look at. And instead of asking, "Could she actually like me?" your mind asks a different question. Why would someone younger or older choose me? That question has quietly ended more possibilities than rejection ever could. Before we go any further, if these conversations help you see people and yourself a little more clearly, consider subscribing. It tells me you're interested in understanding relationships beneath the surface, where the quiet moments often matter most. Now, age gaps do something strange to the mind. Sometimes they make two people doubt what they already feel. Not because the feelings aren't real, because the story around those feelings becomes louder. People imagine what friends might say, what family might think, whether they're reading the situation completely wrong. So instead of moving closer, they become careful, almost painfully careful. That's why attraction across an age gap often looks quieter than people expect. Not weaker, quieter. I've watched men completely miss this because they were waiting for obvious signs. Flirting, confessions, big romantic gestures. But many women don't become more expressive when they're uncertain. They become more observant. Imagine this. You're talking in a group. Everyone is laughing. The conversation keeps moving. Yet every time you speak, she somehow notices. Not dramatically, just enough. She adjusts her attention toward you without realizing she's doing it. If someone interrupts you, she waits for you to finish. If you make a joke that nobody else catches, she's the one who quietly smiles. Those moments seem too small to matter. They're usually the first ones people dismiss, but attention is rarely random, especially when someone has reasons to hide what they feel. And age differences often create exactly those reasons. She may wonder if you'll think she's immature, or too old, or simply not what you're looking for. So instead of showing attraction directly, she studies the space between you. There's something almost nobody notices. The more someone worries about making their feelings obvious, the more those feelings leak out through tiny acts of attention instead. Not because they're trying to send signals, because emotions are difficult to hide completely. But that's only the beginning, because the next sign isn't about where she looks. It's about something far more revealing. The way she starts making room for you in parts of her life she never planned to share. Most people think attraction begins with chemistry. Sometimes it does. But when there's an age gap, something else often comes first. Comfort. Not the comfortable silence you've heard people talk about. Something quieter than that. The feeling that she doesn't have to perform when you're around. Watch what happens after everyone else leaves. The conversation somehow keeps going. Neither of you seems to have an urgent reason to end it. She asks one more question, then another. Not because she's collecting facts, because she's delaying the goodbye without admitting she's doing it. It's such a small thing that most men overlook it. They assume she's just being polite. But politeness usually has an ending. It winds down. It creates an exit. Real interest often does the opposite. It keeps finding one more reason to stay. Maybe she sends you a photo of something ordinary, a coffee cup, a sunset she noticed on the drive home, a dog she passed on the sidewalk. None of those things are important. That's exactly why they matter. When someone starts sharing the ordinary parts of their day, they're quietly inviting you into their inner world. They're saying, without saying it, "I thought of you while nothing special was happening." That's a very different kind of connection, especially when she could have sent that picture to anyone else. Now, this doesn't automatically mean she's romantically interested. Some people are naturally warm. Some friendships become deeply personal without becoming romantic. Human relationships are rarely that simple. But when these moments begin happening consistently, alongside other subtle changes, it's worth paying attention instead of dismissing them. There's another detail I've noticed over the years. A woman who feels uncertain about an age gap often becomes unexpectedly curious. Not about your job, not about your car, not even about your relationship history. She becomes curious about how you think. She asks why you made a certain decision years ago, how you stayed calm during a difficult situation, what you believe about happiness. She isn't interviewing you. She's trying to understand whether the version of you she imagines is real. Because attraction isn't always looking for excitement. Sometimes it's looking for emotional safety. And emotional safety grows through understanding. Then something even more interesting begins to happen. She starts remembering tiny details you forgot you ever mentioned. Your favorite childhood meal, the city you always wanted to visit, the song you said reminded you of your father. Weeks later, she brings one of them up as if it naturally came back to her. That surprises men more than almost anything else. Because most of us expect people to remember the big moments, not the passing comments we barely remember making ourselves. Attention leaves footprints. Memory is one of them. Still, the strongest sign isn't that she remembers your words, it's what she begins to do with them. Because once someone starts building future conversations from your smallest memories, they're no longer just listening. They're making space for you in their emotional life. And that's where everything starts becoming much harder to ignore. There's a quiet shift that happens long before anyone says, "I like you." It doesn't happen in a dramatic moment, no music, no perfect timing. It slips into ordinary conversations so gently that, if you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. She starts looking for your opinion. Not because she can't make decisions on her own, because your thoughts begin to matter to her in a way they didn't before. Maybe she's choosing a new book, thinking about changing jobs, wondering if she should take a trip she's been putting off. She could ask anyone, yet somehow, she asks you. Not every time, just often enough that you notice. And when you answer, she isn't waiting for her turn to speak, she actually listens. There's a difference. You can feel it. Some people hear your words, others absorb them. The second kind is rare, especially today, when most conversations feel like two people taking turns talking about themselves. But there's another layer that often appears when an age gap is involved. She doesn't always agree with you. In fact, sometimes she'll gently challenge you. Not to win, to understand. Many men mistake this for disinterest. It isn't always. When someone sees a future connection, even if they haven't admitted it to themselves, they become curious about how disagreements feel. Can we disagree without pulling away? Can we laugh afterward? Can we still feel close? Those are questions people rarely ask out loud, but they often answer them through everyday conversations. Then one day, something unexpected happens. She starts teasing you. Not the kind that embarrasses you, the kind that only works when she believes you'll understand the joke. Maybe she notices the way you always order the same drink. Maybe she smiles and says, "You're so predictable." Or she catches one of your habits and laughs before you even realize you're doing it. That kind of teasing carries trust. It's difficult to play with someone emotionally if you're afraid they'll disappear. And yet, right after those light-hearted moments, she may suddenly become quieter, almost distant. That can feel confusing. You wonder if you imagined everything. You replay the conversation in your head. Did I say something wrong? Sometimes, no. Sometimes she's simply becoming aware of her own feelings. When emotions start growing stronger, people often become more careful, not less, especially if they aren't sure where they stand. An age gap can amplify that uncertainty. She may think, "Am I reading this correctly?" Or, "What if he only sees me as a friend?" Or even, "What if other people judge us before we even understand what's happening?" Those thoughts can make someone step back for a moment, not because the connection disappeared, because it suddenly feels real. And reality asks harder questions than fantasy ever does. But there is one silent sign that reveals more than all the others combined. It's so subtle that most men mistake it for coincidence. In truth, it's often the moment her feelings stop being private, even though she never says a single word. One of the quietest signs of attraction doesn't happen when you're together. It happens when you're not. You're somewhere else, living your day, doing something completely ordinary. Then your phone lights up. Not with an important question, not with an emergency, just something she wanted to share. Maybe it's a song, a funny video, a picture of a cafe she walked past because she remembered you once said you liked places like that. It seems so small, almost forgettable. But think about what had to happen before she pressed send. She had to think of you first. That isn't something people force. Attention has a way of wandering toward the people who quietly matter. And when someone repeatedly lets you into those ordinary moments, they're often inviting you into something much deeper than conversation. There's another pattern I've noticed. It usually surprises men. A woman who likes you despite an age gap may become more relaxed around you and more self-conscious at exactly the same time. It sounds impossible, but people are complicated. She laughs more easily. She tells stories she wouldn't normally tell. Then halfway through one, she suddenly says, "I don't know why I'm telling you this." She smiles, looks away, maybe even changes the subject. That sentence carries more emotion than it appears to. Because what she's really noticing is that her guard slipped. She trusted you without planning to. And that realization can feel vulnerable, especially when she's still trying to understand her own feelings. Then something even quieter begins. She starts noticing how you respond to other women. Not in an obvious way. She isn't interrogating you. She simply pays attention. If another woman compliments you, does your face light up? If someone flirts with you, do you flirt back? If you mention an ex, does your tone change? She may never comment on any of it, but she's listening. Not because she's possessive, because uncertainty makes people search for clues. She's trying to answer a question she may never ask aloud. Is there room for me in his life? Or am I only imagining this? And if you've ever wondered why she sometimes seems close one week and a little quieter the next, this may be part of the answer. Attraction doesn't erase caution. In many cases, it increases it, especially when the connection feels meaningful enough to lose. That's why mixed signals aren't always games. Sometimes they're simply the rhythm of someone balancing hope with fear. Still, none of these signs matter as much as the one that comes last, because everything we've talked about can happen in friendship too. The final sign is different. It quietly changes the direction of the relationship itself. Once you notice it, you'll never look at your conversations with her the same way again. The last sign is the one almost nobody notices while it's happening, because it doesn't look romantic. It looks natural. One day, without realizing when it started, she begins speaking as though you're already part of her future. Not in dramatic ways. She doesn't suddenly ask where you'll be 5 years from now. It's much quieter than that. She says, "You'd probably like that place." Or, "If we ever went there, you'd laugh at how bad the coffee is." Maybe she's talking about a concert months away, a movie that hasn't even been released, a restaurant she wants to try sometime. She isn't making plans. Not exactly. She's letting her mind imagine you in tomorrow. That matters, because before people make room for someone in their calendar, they usually make room for them in their imagination. And that's where real connection often begins. Still, I'd like to leave you with something that may be even more important than recognizing whether she likes you. Ask yourself this: have you been so focused on the age gap that you've stopped seeing the person? I've met men who talked themselves out of beautiful relationships because they kept asking, "What will people think?" I've also met men who ignored obvious incompatibilities simply because the attraction felt exciting. Neither path leads very far. The healthiest relationships, regardless of age, are usually built on the same quiet foundations: respect, emotional safety, curiosity, laughter that doesn't feel forced. The freedom to be honest without fearing that every word will be misunderstood. Those things don't erase challenges. An age gap can bring different life experiences, different priorities, and outside opinions that aren't always easy to ignore. But none of those automatically decide whether a relationship can work. People do. Through patience, through communication. Through the small choices they make when no one else is watching. So if you've recognized these silent signs in someone, don't rush to label them. Don't build a fantasy around them. And don't dismiss them out of fear. Stay curious. Pay attention. Notice whether her actions continue to match the quiet feeling you've been sensing. Then ask yourself one final question. Not, does she like me, but, when I'm with her, do I become someone I genuinely like being? Because attraction may open the door, but it's the way two people make each other feel, calmer, safer, more themselves, that determines whether they're walking into a fleeting moment or the beginning of something worth protecting. If this conversation made you feel understood, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me in the comments, what's the most subtle sign of attraction you've ever noticed but only understood much later? Sometimes the quietest moments become the ones we never forget.